I do not fear death. I had been dead for billions and billions of years before I was born, and had not suffered the slightest inconvenience from it. Mark Twain. It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live. Marcus Aurelius. I do not fear death. I know it is coming, and I do not fear it, because I believe there is nothing on the other side of death to fear. Roger Ebert. When your time comes to die, be not like those whose hearts are filled with fear of death, so that when their time comes they weep and pray for a little more time to live their lives over again in a different way. Sing your death song, and die like a hero going home. Tecumseh. Live as if you were to die tomorrow. Learn as if you were to live forever. Mahatma Gandhi. Do not fear death, but welcome it, since it too comes from nature. For just as we are young and grow old, and flourish and reach maturity, have teeth and a beard and gray hairs, conceive, become pregnant, and bring forth new life, and all the other natural processes that follow the seasons of our existence, so also do we have death. A thoughtful person will never take death lightly, impatiently, or scornfully, but will wait for it as one of life's natural processes. Marcus Aurelius. Even death is not to be feared by one who has lived wisely. Gautama Buddha. Do not seek death. Death will find you. But seek the road which makes death a fulfillment. Dag Hammarskjöld. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. Frank Herbert. He who doesn't fear death dies only once. Giovanni Falcon. Some people are so afraid to die that they never begin to live. Henry van Dyke. Death is not the biggest fear we have. Our biggest fear is taking the risk to be alive. The risk to be alive and express what we really are. Miguel Angel Ruiz. I have a certainty about eternity that is a wonderful thing, and I thank God for giving me that certainty. I do not fear death. I may fear a little bit about the process, but not death itself, because I think the moment that my spirit leaves this body, I will be in the presence of the Lord. Billy Graham. To fear death, my friends, is only to think ourselves wise, without being wise, for it is to think that we know what we do not know. For anything that men can tell, death may be the greatest good that can happen to them, but they fear it as if they knew quite well that it was the greatest of evils. And what is this but that shameful ignorance of thinking that we know what we do not know? Socrates. Do not fear death so much, but rather the inadequate life. Bertolt Brecht. I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. Nelson Mandela. We cannot banish dangers, but we can banish fears. We must not demean life by standing in awe of death. David Sarnoff. Firstly, do not fear hardship, and secondly, do not fear death. Mao Zedong. Healthy children will not fear life if their elders have integrity enough not to fear death. Erik Erikson. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of trauma, I will fear no concussion. Jim Butcher. Someone has somewhere commented on the fact that millions long for immortality who don't know what to do with themselves on a rainy Sunday afternoon. Susan Ertz. A man does not die of love or his liver or even of old age. He dies of being a man. Miguel de Unamuno. Because I could not stop for death, he kindly stopped for me. The carriage held but just ourselves and immortality. Emily Dickinson. Do the thing you fear most and the death of fear is certain. Mark Twain. To fear death, gentlemen, is no other than to think oneself wise when one is not, To think one knows what one does not know. Socrates. To almost no one's surprise, Astrid said, June by Frank Herbert. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. She and Lana together spoke the last phrase of the incantation. Only I will remain. Michael Grant.